In the sun-scorched sprawl of Roseville, California, where manicured lawns bake under an endless summer sky, Charlotte Harper, 29, had built a life her family called dependable and self-sufficient. To them, she was the rock, the one who never cracked. But to Charlotte, her existence felt like a rundown motel off the highway, doors always unlocked, rates always free, for relatives who treated her home like their personal pit stop. For 8 years, her cramped apartment had been a revolving door for cousins, aunts, and uncles who rolled in without warning, their bags stuffed with excuses and their hands empty of gratitude. They'd raid her fridge, borrow her clothes, and crash for a bit that dragged into months. Charlotte gritted her teeth through it all, because she'd been raised on the gospel that family meant sacrifice. No questions asked. It started small. Her cousin Mia, 27, would show up after a breakup, tossing her duffel on Charlotte's couch with a breezy, "Just till I'm back on my feet." Mia's feet never found steady ground. Then there was Lucas, 32, a chronic job hopper who'd appear whenever his latest gig tanked, asking for a quick loan he'd totally pay back. He never did. The worst was Sophie, 30, who'd moved in 6 months ago, declaring, "I'll stay till I find something better." Sophie's better was a pipe dream. She'd wear Charlotte's hoodies, clean out her pantry, and leave dishes stacked like modern art, all while smirking. Relax, Charlotte. We're family. That word, family, had morphed into a weapon. A blank check for them to stomp over her boundaries. But on a crisp October morning, as Charlotte sipped coffee in her cluttered kitchen, something snapped into focus. Her phone pinged with an email that rewrote her future. Mortgage approval, congratulations. Charlotte Harper. After 6 years of grinding through a day job at a Sacramento marketing firm and burning the midnight oil on freelance graphic design gigs, she'd pulled it off. She'd bought a house, a modest single-story bungalow in Rocklin, a 25-minute drive from downtown. It wasn't a flashy estate, just 2 bedrooms and a backyard big enough for a few rose bushes. To Charlotte, it was more than bricks and mortar. It was her stronghold, her middle finger to years of being everyone's doormat. She hadn't breathed a word to anyone. Not Mia, not Lucas, not Sophie. She wanted to cradle that triumph, to savor it like a secret before the family vultures swooped in. But secrets don't survive the Harper clan. That weekend, at her Aunt Linda's 55th birthday barbecue, a loud, chaotic affair where family values were preached to guilt-trip everyone into free labor, Charlotte's news leaked. She'd barely set down her potato salad when her cousin Ava, 28, a self-proclaimed influencer coasting on her parents' credit cards, pounced. "Charlotte, words out, you snagged a house." Ava's voice was syrupy, her eyes glinting with opportunism. Beside her stood Chloe, 34, fresh off her 3rd failed startup, infamous for treating other people's cash like her personal piggy bank. 2 bedrooms in Rocklin? That's perfect, Chloe said, like she'd already signed the lease. "My apartment's a dump. I need a reset." Ava nodded, tossing her hair. "And I'm so over my roommate drama. Your place sounds like a dream." They didn't wait for Charlotte to respond. Chloe claimed the back bedroom. "It's quieter for my Zoom calls," while Ava demanded the front room for natural light for my content. They threw around plans to split utilities, like family, as if Charlotte had handed them keys. "We'll figure it out, Charlotte. Don't sweat it," Ava said, like she was doing her a solid. Charlotte's fingers tightened around her iced tea, her pulse pounding. She hadn't invited them. She hadn't even confirmed the gossip. Yet, in their heads, her house was already a communal crash pad, a free Airbnb for their entitlement. Aunt Linda swooped in, her voice heavy with authority. "Charlotte, a house is for family. Your mom passed when you were just a kid. I've always seen you as my own. This is your shot to bring us closer." Closer, Charlotte thought, just meant more of them in her space, helping themselves to her life under the holy guise of kinship. The nerve didn't end there. Chloe scrolled her phone. "All casual. I sent you a link for a sectional sofa. Can you cover it? I'll Venmo you later." Ava piped up. "Oh, and I ordered blackout curtains for my room. Gotta keep the aesthetic tight." They were mapping out her home, her bank account, her entire existence, without a shred of consent. Charlotte's stomach twisted, but she held her tongue, her mind racing. She wasn't the old Charlotte who'd let them walk all over her for years. Not anymore. That night, alone in her quiet apartment, Charlotte pulled out the purchase agreement. Her fingers traced the bold print. Owner, Charlotte Harper. This was hers, unborrowed, uncompromised. For the first time, she felt the weight of something undeniably her own. But she knew keeping it that way would mean war. She grabbed her phone and texted Caleb Ruiz, a college friend now running a logistics startup in Sacramento. Caleb, know any storage units? Somewhere low-key. His reply was instant. Moving or plotting a takeover? Charlotte's lips twitched. Takeover. The plan took shape. Charlotte would let Ava and Chloe pack their stuff, thinking they were moving into her new house. But she'd lined up a truck and a storage unit. And every overstep, every text demanding cash, every item they'd borrowed, was cataloged in a folder labeled proof. This time, Charlotte wasn't just saving her house. She was taking back her life. The air in Aunt Linda's Roseville living room was thick with tension. The kind that hums before a storm breaks. Charlotte Harper, 29, stood at the edge of the room, her phone heavy in her pocket, as the Harper family gathered for what Aunt Linda called an emergency meeting. But Charlotte knew better. This wasn't a meeting, it was a tribunal. And she was already guilty in their eyes. A week ago, she'd pulled off her plan, redirecting her cousins Ava and Chloe's belongings to a storage unit instead of her new Rockland bungalow. Now, the family had assembled to deliver their verdict, with Linda, 55, presiding like a judge in her own court. The room buzzed with whispers as Charlotte stepped inside. Ava, 28, and Chloe, 34, sat on the plaid sofa, their faces a rehearsed mask of wounded innocence. Behind them, cousins, uncles, and aunts filled every chair and corner, their eyes darting between Charlotte and the self-appointed matriarch. Linda, so, Charlotte, Linda began, her voice sharp as a knife. Care to explain why you've humiliated your own cousins? Locking their things in storage? That's low, even for you. The room leaned in, hungry for Charlotte's surrender. Charlotte's heart pounded, but her face stayed calm, almost serene. Humiliated, she said, tilting her head. I just helped Ava and Chloe move, hired a truck, rented a storage unit, even paid the first month. Pretty generous, don't you think? A gasp rippled through the room. Ava's cheeks flushed crimson. That was a setup, she spat. You tricked us. That house was supposed to be for family. Chloe jumped in, her voice quivering with fake tears. We trusted you, Charlotte. How could you do this? Charlotte didn't flinch. She pulled out her phone, her fingers steady as she opened a folder labeled proof. Let's clear things up, she said, connecting to Linda's smart TV. The screen lit up with evidence, screenshots of Ava's texts demanding Charlotte pay for a $2,500 sofa. Chloe's emails about curtains she'd ordered on Charlotte's dime. Photos of their belongings piling up in her apartment uninvited. The clincher was a video. Ava and Chloe, laughing as they loaded boxes onto the truck, oblivious to their destination. Careful with my mirror, Ava's voice chirped in the footage. It's going to look so good in Charlotte's living room. The room fell silent, the kind of quiet that swallows sound. Linda's lips pressed into a thin line, her authority crumbling. Ava stared at the floor, her influencer poise gone. Chloe's fake tears dried up, replaced by a scowl. Charlotte let the silence linger, then spoke, her voice low but firm. You call me ungrateful, but when did gratitude mean letting people walk all over me? I bought that house with my own money, my own sweat. It's not a family hostel. Linda recovered, her tone icy. I took you in after your mom died. Charlotte, gave you a home, a family. This is how you repay us? Charlotte's chest tightened, but she didn't waver. You took me in to burnish the family image. Not out of love. Don't weaponize that to justify years of control. The words hung heavy, truths she'd never dared voice until now. Then, from the corner, a voice cut through, steady and unyielding. The girl's right. All eyes turned to Grandma Eleanor, 76. Small but fierce. Leaning on her cane, Charlotte's put up with enough. You all preach family, but you're just leeching off her kindness. Eleanor rose, her gaze sweeping the room like a blade. From now on, Sunday dinners are at Charlotte's house, but only for those who respect her boundaries. The rest of you? Stay away. Ava's jaw dropped. Chloe paled. Linda's fists clenched, her knuckles white. Mother, how can you side with her? She hissed. She's tearing this family apart. Eleanor's smile was sharp as broken glass. No, she's teaching you what family should mean. If you're ashamed, it's because you've forgotten that lesson. Charlotte's throat tightened, not with fear but with gratitude. For the first time, she wasn't fighting alone. The meeting dissolved in awkward silence, the family scattering like leaves in a storm. But the fight wasn't over. Days later, Charlotte's inbox pinged with a legal notice from Ava's lawyer, accusing her of unlawful property detention and emotional distress. Before she could laugh, Chloe messaged her on Instagram. You're making enemies. Charlotte, fix this before it's too late. Charlotte smirked, forwarding the email to Caleb Ruiz, her logistics friend. Caleb, package the evidence. Make it pretty. Caleb's reply was swift. Their lawyer's gonna love this. 3 days later, Ava's legal team backed off, citing new information. Caleb sent Charlotte a screenshot of their withdrawal email. Short and defeated. The client will not pursue further action. Ava and Chloe's social media smear campaign, cryptic posts about betrayal and selfish cousins, vanished overnight. Their captions scrubbed. Charlotte didn't stop there. She opened her phone and blocked every toxic relative. One by one. Ava, Chloe, Linda, the uncles who'd texted, family is forever. No hesitation. Blood didn't entitle anyone to her peace. By the next weekend, Charlotte stood in her Rockland bungalow, an iced coffee in hand, the quiet wrapping her like a warm blanket. No cousins barging in, no demands for her wallet. Her backyard roses, freshly planted, swayed in the breeze. She'd opened her door only to those who earned it. Grandma Eleanor, her sharp-witted ally, her best friend Riley, who'd texted, wine or a baseball bat, during the drama, and her neighbor Ethan, 33. A bookstore owner whose quiet kindness had been a lifeline. One evening, as Jazz drifted through her living room, Eleanor raised a glass of Merlot. Charlotte, it's not the house that matters, she said, her hand over Charlotte's heart. It's this: freedom, peace, self-respect. Not everyone has the guts to claim it. Charlotte clinked her glass, her eyes bright. She'd learned family wasn't a debt to be paid with her sanity. Peace came from slamming the door on those who didn't deserve a key. Outside, the Sacramento sunset painted the sky gold. Charlotte poured another coffee, her reflection in the window showing a woman at ease in her own space. The fight had been brutal, but the victory was hers: a home, a life, a future she'd defend with every ounce of her strength.